Wow, lots of emotion here today. It's a pretty awesome thing. Phil, thank you for those comments, for swearing me in. Carter, what an awesome delivery. It's such a privilege to stand before you today. I've been involved with MSBA in some capacity since I was first elected to the school board in Jefferson City. And about 5 years ago, I sat where you sit now and listened to Dave Wright speak. And I leaned over to one of my fellow board members and said, I hope to be MSBA president one day. I'm truly humbled and proud to be your president. I have many people to thank for helping me get here, and I will have many more to thank next year, because we have a full agenda. So please indulge me. Again, we have a full agenda this year, and as I said yesterday during my advocacy committee report, failure is not an option. Here's an outline of the agenda that I'd like to discuss today, and it's really difficult because, or maybe it's heartwarming after hearing comments from yesterday, comments from this morning, how similar it is. So you'll hopefully notice when I'm going through this agenda and talking in a little bit of detail that I use a lot of words like we, our, together. I truly believe this is our work, and we will only be successful if we work together as a team. So the agenda, just briefly. First, success with our governance structure transition, success with our Baldridge and education work, success becoming a well-oiled, unified advocacy team, success with our association's finances. We must be well-positioned to be agile enough to react to the unknowns. And my final bullet point, I'll save for last. While preparing my comments for this morning, I read through my MSBA notes over the years. I thought about our recent task force work, our Baldridge work, and our advocacy challenges. I asked friends and family what makes for a great speech. They said what I'm sure each of you would say, Doug, keep it short. Then again, like you, they know me, and they considered past conversations with me and said, scratch that, do what you want. Something that stands out to me is the use of memorable or historic quotes. So I picked one that I used recently in another meeting, and I've already used it twice during this leadership summit. Failure is not an option. What's the origin of this quote? Well, thanks to Google and the supercomputer that we all have in our pocket, here it is. Among the great quotes of man's space are, Godspeed, John Glenn. Houston, Tranquility Base here, the eagle has landed. One small step for man, one giant step for all mankind. I never considered this one, but you all know it. Anybody guess? Houston, we have a problem. And of course, failure is not an option. An email from Jerry Bostic, who contributed significantly to the success of the movie Apollo 13, detailed the story. Jerry, as one of the key flight controllers responsible for the rescue, served as a technical advisor for the movie. Here's the account of the origin of failure is not an option. As far as the expression, it was never actually spoken that way from any astronaut or mission control staffer. In preparation for the movie, the scriptwriters interviewed several crew members asking, what are the people in mission control really like? One of their questions was, weren't there times when everybody, or at least a few people, just panicked? The answer was no. When bad things happened, they just calmly laid out all the options, and failure was not one of them. They never panicked, and they never gave up on finding a solution. Now, I'm not a space guru or a history buff, but I fundamentally believe we, all of us in this room, are the right group to calmly lay out all the options when needed, and I personally will not accept failure as one of them. Frankly, MSBA has operated like this for years, forever. As you know, our mission is helping school boards succeed. I love it. Right there in our mission statement is our desire and need to be successful. Now, on to my agenda with a little detail. Our governance structure redesign was a success, and now it's time to be successful implementing it with our full buy-in and commitment. And I was so proud to see Mike Purnell lead the meeting this morning that started at 7:30 with the REC chairs and the members of each committee. And what I saw on the grid and in the graphic was MSBA's A-team rolling this out with their full commitment. And you have my full commitment that we're going to make this work. Bringing our regions together and including all community leaders from in and outside our education caucus is our job. To steal Jerry Lee's quote, we don't want to meet our fire chief for the first time at a fire. We must tell our positive stories to everyone now and continually. If they resist, and they will, stand firm in convincing them that education, as Dr. Ward said, is the foundation of our democracy and of vital importance to our community's economic vitality, and get them to your meetings. Baldrige in education, the continuous improvement process. MSBA has made a commitment to this way of conducting business. The entire process, starting with the Missouri Quality Program and ultimately the Baldrige process, is another example of MSBA seeking best practices for itself and for us. I need your commitment to work and learn these proven processes with MSBA, then take them home in order to better your district for the benefit of all kids. Advocacy. Now, I should just throw all this out. We've heard it, we've seen it, we saw it on video, we talked about it before we got here, we talked about it in the hallways. That Rex, yes, called our governor an idiot. And it's ironic, your comments, that my next comments say, I will not disappoint my mother who taught me manners, who taught me that there is a certain amount of decorum and regalness about being a public servant. I will not disappoint her by calling Rex a name. I simply want to challenge us to not panic and for us to calmly, professionally, and honorably lay out all the options for us to be successful. Quickly, I want to state the obvious, but it is important. We must build on our work that the Dues Task Force completed and present a responsible budget, grow our reserves, protect and develop our second-to-none staff. Since we will do all this, we will be agile enough to react to the unknowns that pop up every year. Before I close with my final point for my agenda, I do wish to thank a few folks, and it's hard not to mention every one of you, because now your faces are familiar to me, and I consider each of you my friend and colleague. I need to thank my family, along with my family from the National Biodiesel Board, because I can't thank them enough for the time and patience that they've given me. I want to thank our recent presidents, Phil, Jerry, Vic, Dave, Sharon, Robin, Peggy, for all you've taught me. Thanks to Mona, Mike, Larry, Troy, Scott, Keith, Bo, and the rest of the 43-member board for their friendship and leadership. I don't have words to express the gratitude I have for the MSBA staff for their leadership and assistance. Thanks, Julian. Finally, to my board and my superintendent from Jefferson City for their confidence in me. And who would have thought that I would save the last thanks for last? And I'm writing this speech, but I saved the last thanks for a Cupie. Jan Meese, even though we don't meet enough, you mean a lot to me, and I thank you. Now, that sounded like the end of my speech, but it's not. I have saved the bittersweet best for last. Dr. Ward has announced to the executive committee his intention to retire in 1 year. Today is not Carter's send-off, simply an announcement. But it's not that simple. Carter started working for MSBA in 1973 when MSBA was housed at Hill Hall on the MU campus. Carter wrote the first MSBA policy manual during that time. He became, as we heard earlier, executive director in 1983. Carter Ward is MSBA. And MSBA is Carter Ward. We will have a proper celebration for this exemplary leader. However, I don't know if I should shake his hand or kick his butt for his timing. Carter has led us in the past with vision for the future. His passion and insightful integrity serves us now, and his presence will always be felt. I'm not sure if he ever said failure is not an option. I do know he has strived to make us successful for the betterment of public education and all kids. After your president, Phil, received the letter from Carter, the executive committee has met several times in an effort to determine our best path forward. Fortunately, due to Carter, we are in a great place with only great options to consider. Your executive committee will lay out a recommendation at our July board meeting. So now I'll close by asking you to shake Carter's hand and to help me continue MSBA's legacy of only accepting success as the option. Thank you.